or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, help is available. Please call or text 988.
The number is being given today, so we don't have to light this candle to remind us of another life lost to suicide. There will be better
days ahead. You just have to wait for them. There will be better days ahead.
Don't hesitate to reach out to someone right now.
I promise you that you are appreciated and loved.
Depression and anxiety, know that you're not alone. Need help? I'm going to ask you again. Call 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. You can also text or call 988 the Suicide Crisis Hotline. I love you guys. I want you here. Please help each other.
You are entering the cosmos.
Hello, cadets. Welcome to another edition of General Howitzer's Big Monster Briefing Room. I'm all in black, blending into the background well today because we are going to talk a little vampire action with our movie The Brides of Dracula from Hammer Films, 1960. But first, let's bring up Major Millie Hazzard, my able-bodied assistant.
Proud to serve you, General. How are you doing? Did you come complete with your tea? I have my tea.
I promised you that I was going to premiere a new cup today, so
it's a big moment.
There it is.
Wow.
I thought it apropos.
It's very apropos for today, General. I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
Whenever we do vampires and zombies, I'm going to use that cup.
Yes, we have to. And we have Cadet Farwell is reporting and Cadet Thompson is reporting. Cadet Morales is reporting. Thank you very much for being here.
Awesome. Good to have you guys here for this.
Yeah, we have a wonderful show today.
The last time we did a vampire movie, we did Salem's Lot, which is a really good representation of vampires. This one is also a pretty good representation of the old style vampires, with ruffly shirts and all that and the capes and everything. By the way, why do vampires wear capes? That's my question. Because they're vampires. They're dead. It's not like they need to keep warm.
It's to cover their faces from the sun in case they get into any sun. They need to be able to cover themselves.
Okay,
it's to protect themselves.
I guess that makes sense. But they're out in the moonlight. They're not out in the sunlight. I mean, they know to get back in their
you can never be too careful.
Do you think they're just being fashionable?
Well, it's also that it's very Slavic
to wear a cape. Thing.
It's very Eastern to wear a cape. So I think that's part of it.
Okay, I'll go with that. All right, but that was just kind of strange because in this film, there's a scene where the main vampire, who's named Baron Meinster. By the way, this movie is called The Brides of Dracula, but Dracula is not in it for 1 second. Okay, it was supposed to be called The Disciple of Dracula, and for some reason they ended up calling it The Brides of Dracula. And The Disciple of Dracula makes sense because Dracula's not in it; he's dead. At the very beginning of the film, they say Dracula is dead; he's long gone, but his disciples live on, and that's how they start the movie. So all these girls that become Baron Meinster's vampires, they're not the brides of Dracula. They're the brides of Meinster, which sounds suspiciously like monster. So there it is. And you've disappeared on me again, like a vampire.
Well, I was reading the comments, and Cadet Thompson said, do all vampires say black, black, black? I think
blah,
they did.
blah, blah.
That's part of the problem with being dead, you know.
That started like in the 1950s when a comic was doing an impersonation of Bela Lugosi, and he decided to go blah 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 like that. Bela Lugosi never said blah blah blah. All right.
But again, it's very Russian to say blah blah. That's a very Russian thing.
Really?
And, Cadet Morales said they do use it as a shield from the sun, and he references Nosferatu. So I was correct. You know, I have the lab coat for a reason. So.
Okay, duly noted. All right, so they actually wear capes because they're afraid they might get something. They might get stuck in traffic getting back to their coffin.
Know.
If they get stuck in traffic, then they can hold the cape up and block the sun. All right. We're going to talk about the cape later in the film too, when I will mention another thing that vampires do that kind of confuses me a little bit. But you've got the lab coat. You can help square this away.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and bring up our guest who was on the time that we did Salem's Lot, a vampire enthusiast, Miss Barbie Magee. And there she is. A new look.
It's still me.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
here. I'm here.
All right.
I'm here with you in this undisclosed location. And I'm a little nervous, I must say. After the last time, I mentioned that I had not heard of a scary vampire since 2008's Let the Right One In. And after that, I began to be contacted by many vampires.
Oh, since our last show.
Yes, and yes, and I have been afraid for my life, and I have been contacting these vampires, and I actually have something that I would like to share with you.
Okay. Well, yeah, the life of a vampire hunter is not easy. They're pretty cunning and wily.
Exactly. It is a hard job, you know, and this is my way of getting close to the vampires. And I have been contacted by a vampire, and he would like to tell his story. You know, I have heard from many of them that I have it wrong, that they are not blood-sucking fiends.
Yes,
that
they are.
They have a heart.
A heart?
A heart.
Let me get Millie Hazzard to translate that for me. A heart?
It's a heart. That's the proper way of saying aw. The aw is
I only had a heart. That's the Brooklyn heart. Okay.
I did not say that I was in Brooklyn. I'm in an undisclosed.
Okay, all right. And I didn't say that either. It's just Yonkers.
Maybe. But I am very excited to talk about Brides of Dracula.
Okay. But you said you had something you were going to show us.
Oh, yes. Let's do this first. Yes. You must see this. This is the first of a series I hope to do with stories about vampires.
All right. Very good.
These are the vampires among us. These are their stories.
Gary Bland.
Can you explain the process of becoming a vampire in your own words?
Oh gosh. The process of changing into a vampire is very painful. It's long and tedious. There's a lot of vomiting and a lot of blood, and so it's kind of scary. And then you're a vampire.
Do you prey upon humans?
Oh no, I don't prey upon humans. I just can't do it. You know, it's like killing a puppy for me. You know, I can't do it. So I go to guilt-free delis that are set up for vampires who don't want to bite people and suck their blood, and I drink specially contained animal blood that we purchase, and that way it's guilt-free.
Are vampires capable of redemption, such as Angel in Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Well, I think everybody is redeemable, even vampires, even though most of them are pretty nasty. The whole thing, power goes to their head and all. But I don't watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's too scary.
Are you part of a coven? And if so, may I have their street address?
I am a loner. I have been for a while. My wife and I were changed into vampires at a party, and she wanted to do some things that were more exciting, and we tried it, and we got turned into vampires. And eventually, she left me because I was kind of boring and not your typical vampire. And she just went off to be with a coven that was a lot more exciting than me.
If we were in a dark alley together, what might happen?
If I don't go to dark alleys, to be honest with you, not safe. You can get mugged. So, no, I try to stay away from dark alleys. But if we ever were to meet somewhere dark, I'd buy you a drink.
Thank you for having me on the show. As mentioned before, I have been contacted by many vampires who would like to have their story told. You may notice I have a different accent, but it is the same me, the same cunning vampire killer.
Okay. Please tell me you killed that guy.
No, I did not kill Gary Bland. There is no reason to kill Gary Bland, right? He is not a danger to anyone, perhaps ladies' hearts. Yeah. So,
okay.
No, he was able to tell me where the party was, where he was turned, but they were long gone. The scent went cold. I continue my journey to find the vampires and kill them all.
It's a shame you didn't ask him how long he's been a vampire. He's got a kind of a 1960s vibe about him. Anyway, okay. Well, that's interesting. Again, as we do these shows with the vampire movies, I hope you bring us more interviews, more stories about these vampires.
Yes, and if you are a vampire or someone you love or is near to you is a vampire and would like their story to be told, you can get in touch with us through these means.
It's funny that you said that because in this movie, one of the themes in this movie is that a mother is protecting her vampire son. So, and that movie is The Brides of Dracula. It's a Universal International picture, which means that Universal has the rights to these characters, these vampire characters, along with the old Universal Studios monster characters. It's a Hammer film made in England at Bray Studios. That's where they made most of their movies. Brides of Dracula. Again, Dracula's not in the movie, but there it is. I guess they felt if they put the name Dracula on it, would sell more tickets. So there you go. We start with a coach and a beautiful Yvonne Monlar. She is a French teacher in this named Marianne Danielle. And the coachman is played by Michael Ripper, who is, again, we talked about him when we were talking about Curse of the Werewolf. He was in that. He plays a lot of bit parts in Hammer films. Plays a lot of parts, character roles. He has to stop the coach. There is a big log in the way, and this guy on the right-hand side here probably put the log there so that the coach would stop. And his brides are in it. That's true. Not Dracula's brides, though. Meinster's brides. It's all about the brides. By the way, vampires evidently are like Mormons. They can have like many wives.
This was a question that I had. You had Bride of Frankenstein, right?
Yeah.
But clearly, vampires are very depraved and therefore would have multiple wives.
Yeah. Well, again, it's like they're greedy. It's like, what is this? The Middle East where you can have, what were the guys that used to have like 20, 30 wives?
Right. And also the FDLS, right? In Utah.
Well, there you go.
It's in our country too. Yeah.
So I think that's kind of, that makes me want to kill them even more. oh yeah, I take all the good-looking girls and turn them into vampires, so none of the rest of us can have them. Thanks. So anyway, the
all
guy.
about you, General Howitzer.
What's that?
It's all about you, right?
Yeah, that's true. I always make it about me.
Now,
I happen to be very happy with what I say.
This was 2 years after the Christopher Lee 1958 Dracula, which I think was a different name, right?
Which is known to some as horror of Dracula.
Horror of Dracula, exactly. So this is 2 years later in the filming, right? 1960, and you really get a sense they're not quite sure where to go with this story.
Yeah, these girls are kind of randy, after he turns them into vampires. So you could call this one the horrors of Dracula. I mean, if you want.
I don't
makes
know.
sense. It makes sense. Anyway, this creepy guy that gets on the back of the coach, he gets off at the next village, and he pays the driver to take off without his one passenger, this girl. Okay. Obviously, this is something that's happened many, many times already. This is kind of a shtick that they do. When a girl comes through traveling alone, they get the coachman to leave, and then you'll see what happens. And again, she's inside the local tavern there, getting a little bite to eat. And when they find out that she's by herself, and this guy comes in, that's all he does. He just walks in, lets everybody see him. Everybody knows him, obviously. They're all like, and then he walks out.
And we never see him again, right?
And after that, yeah, we don't. I don't think we see him again.
Yeah, because I kept looking for him.
Yeah.
Like, when's he coming back?
So evidently, he's the guy that makes this happen, and that's basically it.
What a great shot that is, though, with him so tall and the villagers so little and weak.
Yeah, well, and again, all of them are like, check, please. They want to get the hell out of there when they see this guy. Yeah, and when he walks out, another coach pulls up, and they all know who it is. It's the Baroness Meinster. And she comes in, looking all crotchety and mean, and she goes right to Marianne, who's very naive. And she says, "Oh no, you can come and stay at my house, my castle up at the end of up in the mountain over the village." And she does.
But that smirk that she has, like in that last,
the knowing. Yeah. I'm going to feed you to my son. Whoops, I'm going to feed you dinner, and I'll take care of you. Don't worry.
Marianne is so naive in this movie that
she's as naive as Marianne on Gilligan's Island.
Subtitle. Right?
Right,
Dracula, the naivete of Marianne.
Yes. Right. She is as naive as Marianne on Gilligan's Island. Very innocent. So she goes to the Meinster's castle, and it's, of course, very nice inside. The help is kind of weird. Greta. I think Greta was the pattern for Frau Blucher in
got that same vibe.
Frankenstein.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think there's some of that going on there. When Marianne goes to her room, she goes to her balcony and she sees a man. He's down there. He's looking depressed. So she asks the Baroness Meinster, at dinner time, who is that? Oh, that's my son. He's ill. She says he's ill. That's all she says. She's not going to tell any more than that. And she keeps him locked away. And she tells the villagers that he's dead. Because, well, he is. He's a vampire. So she goes back to her room, goes back to the balcony. She talks to the guy. She thinks he's going to jump off the ledge, which he might have done, turn into a bat or something. And she goes back down to see him, this little tart. How randy.
I disagree with the tartness, because this is not a tart, right?
No, she's actually a sweet girl. She's also one of the luckiest girls on the planet, because she could have been bitten about 50 times in this film, and it just didn't happen. It just, every time somebody would come in, like Van Helsing or somebody would come in and stop the bite from happening. And I don't even want to go into the end of the movie until we get there. But So she goes down there to the room, and there is the Baron Meinster. And, you know, he's a handsome guy. How old do you think this guy is?
30.
Yeah. The actor, David Peel, this was his biggest role. He did one movie after this, and then he retired and became an art dealer.
Right.
And he was very good at it, evidently. He was 40 at the time when he made this movie. But so he was old enough to be her father, because she's like 21, 22, I think, when she did this. But they put a blonde wig on him and made him look much younger.
Ooh, that's a good wig.
Yeah. It's an
That's
awesome
a good wig. Yeah, yeah.
So in these scenes, when he's a vampire and they got his eyes all done up and the fangs and everything, he looks a little older. But okay, I almost forgot this slide. He is chained up in the room. Now, my question is, why doesn't he just change into a bat?
Which he does later.
And fly away. He
Right,
does.
yeah.
He changed into a bat in other parts of the movie. So why didn't he just change into a bat and just fly away?
You think
Evidently,
it's a silver thing? Like the silver is...
maybe, possibly it's a silver thing. It's silver. And that
That's a
chain looks
vampire
pretty small. I mean,
Right.
a vampire is pretty strong.
Okay,
He
now
could probably
here
break
is the fastest we've ever seen anyone fall in love in any movie ever.
True that. She
Yeah.
is willing to risk her life to get the key to that manacle that he's got around his ankle. And again, he could have bit her right there. He's a vampire. But for some reason, he's allowing her to go and do this thing with the key.
Well, he needs her. Yeah, he needs her.
So evidently,
she immediately
evidently-
betrays the woman who's taken her in.
yeah.
Right? No thought whatsoever to, you know, loyalty to another person who's helping you out.
Well, and
Maybe
she didn't get-
discuss
she
it
didn't
with
get the whole
them.
story.
You know, hey, he wants me to get the key. Should I get the key?
Well, even at dinner time, the countess, or I'm sorry, the baroness says, "Oh, you're passing judgment on me already. I can see it in your face."
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the story doesn't gel well with Marianne. She doesn't like the fact that he's being kept prisoner, like a house pet. So,
And I wonder, can we just take a little bit of a detour into 1960 feminism is just really started coming down the pike historically in America, right? And
All right.
she is the perfect little ingenue, right? Just as naive as the day is long, right? All these things just happen to her. She's like, oh my gosh, right? She represents this passivity, right? In femininity that was very like potent at that time.
Well, again, this is 1960 now, so
Yeah.
this is right between the 50s when, you know, it's housewives and you got to be barefoot in the house.
Right.
And
She's
again,
almost
like
a
you
very
said, this movement that's coming.
1950s version, right? But then the whole concept of Dracula and this big change that could happen to her is, you know, is indicative of what's going to happen in the 60s, right? Like, no longer are people just sort of led along in naivete. Hopefully, I don't know. Anyway, go on. But I just wanted to point that out, that was like a nice parallel.
Yeah, well, and again, we do see stronger female characters in later vampire movies in the 60s, like you said. She represents purity, definitely in this movie. She's very pure,
definitely.
very kind-hearted, very naive.
Right.
She's easily bamboozled by the likes of Baron Meinster, who is very cunning. As vampires go, he is extremely intelligent and cunning. So she runs away from the Baroness, who has actually caught her. She goes, "Return my key. You took a key from my room." And she runs right down into the arms of the Baron. And of course, now the shit has hit the fan. It's like, "Mother, come here." Awkward. And again, Marianne is oblivious to the whole vampire thing right now. She doesn't realize that that's what's going on here. You know, "Mother, look at me. Look me in the eyes." So she goes upstairs to get dressed. And after she gets dressed, she hears cackling downstairs. It's Greta. Greta's gone completely out of her mind. She's insane now.
And then she just prances through the rest of the movie. Completely insane. I loved it.
Yes.
Every scene she was in, she just chewed it right up.
He's free. He's free.
Mhm.
So, and again, she was his faithful house servant who took care of him while he was a boy growing up. And she saw everything that the mother didn't see. You know, all the depravity and hanging out with the wrong people, and then the vampirism and all that. And she shows Marianne, hey, look, you're too naive. Look what happens. And she shows her the mother, the Baroness, who's slumped in a chair, 2 holes in her neck. And then it's starting to sink in. Wait a minute, maybe everything here is not so right. So she runs off into the woods, and that's where she's found by our hero, Van Helsing. Now, what's strange about this movie is we don't get the first name of Baron Meinster or Van Helsing throughout this movie. We are told from other movies that it should be Abraham Van Helsing. And yet his doctor's case has a VH on it, but I think it was an S before the VH. So we never hear his first name in this movie, which I thought was kind of peculiar. And we never find out what Baron Meinster's first name is. Is it David? Is it Charles? Is it, we never know. We just call him the Baron Meinster. She even just calls him the Baron Meinster. So they take her back to the village.
Yeah, later on when she's hooking up with him, right? I mean,
she still calls him Baron Meinster.
Right, the 1960s version of hooking up.
The townspeople that saw her leave with the Baroness are very relieved to see that she's alive and kicking. Again, this whole thing has evidently happened many times, and they've lost, girls to, the Baroness feeding them to her son. So Van Helsing doesn't tell everybody at this time that he has already been called here because of all of the vampire activity in the area. So, and there's been a girl killed. Should have been Marianne because she was the one closest to him all night, but no. It was another town's girl that got killed by the Baron Meinster on his first night out in a long time. And so he goes to the wake, which is right there in the tavern. I found that kind of peculiar. Hey, let's have a wake over here in the banquet room.
That's probably pretty accurate.
Let everybody have a beer while you're whining or while you're crying. So he checks out the corpse, and sure enough, there's the mark of the vampire on her neck. So he notices that there's also garlic all around the body and everything, and he applauds the tavern owner for doing the superstitions because he says they're pretty much based on reality with the vampires here. He decides to take Marianne to the school where she was supposed to report to. She's late. And during that coach ride, he has her tell him everything about the Baron and the Baroness Meinster and their castle and where everything is. And he says, forget what you told me, which is very clever. And he explains everything to them, why she's late. She couldn't be avoided. She lost her luggage. Coach left her. I brought her here, and everything's okay. And they put her in good hands. See that girl in the red in the back there?
Yeah. I liked the scene because you were like, first you were listening to them and their conversation, and then you're like, red dress. Gotta look at the red dress.
That's Gina. Gina is oh god, I forgot the actress's name now. But this girl was made to be a vampire. She looks so good as a vampire. Anyway, she just, I don't know what it is about her facial structure or what, but she just really looks good as a vampire in the last half of this movie.
Page kind of bouffant.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, he goes back to the tavern, and the local priest is talking to the father of the girl that just died. The father has buried her in the churchyard in hallowed ground. And now Van Helsing comes over, gets him a drink.
Somewhat famous character actors. This is the parade of all sorts of character actors come in at this point, right?
Well, yeah, it's Hammer. Hammer Films has a lot of, these were like the Harry Potter films of their day,
Yeah.
If you weren't working, hey, come on over to Bray Studios and do a part in our vampire movie or our Frankenstein movie. But I love the fact that he goes over to the table to introduce himself by offering a glass of wine. Get a lot of wine drinking in this movie. And he says, I'm the guy that you actually...
Eating. Several times people try and eat, and they never actually get a chance to eat. I noticed that. Yeah.
He says, I'm the guy that you sent for. I'm here to help you with your vampire problem. And whoa. You're going too fast there. He gives him, this is very important, he gives him a container of holy water.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Everything in a script happens for a reason. Everything in a training film happens for a reason. So he's got the holy water now. He's got his cross, which he always carries with him, and he's got the stakes and the hammers and everything he carries with him. And now he's got a container of holy water, which is going to be very valuable to him later. That night, Greta's back. Crazy Greta. She is helping the vampire to push her way up to the top. And I don't know why he looks so surprised here, because Van Helsing sees vampire shit all the time. But there it is.
Yeah.
The hand is coming up out of the ground. And the father, bonehead that he is, buried her about 6 inches under, not 6 feet. So she gets out pretty easy.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, on hot days, this is going to start to be a problem, even if she's just dead. Yeah.
Well, he was drinking a lot in the tavern. So he's like, you know what? I'm done. I'm just going to bury her and put a little sand on top. So the daughter comes back as vampires. There's the first bride right there. And again, no ceremony. You just, if you're bitten and you become a vampire, that means you're the bride. So a vampire bat comes and he, comes after Van Helsing, Peter Cushing at his finest, dodging vampire bats. And it leads him eventually back up to the Meinster castle. And he's like, hey, nice place you got here. I like what you've done. And this next picture I really like. He goes into the little vampire section of the house. Right there. That's the little door that leads to, where Baron Meinster was kept. I'm going to call him Charles, just for the hell of it. Where Charles was kept. And, of course, he's going to look for the coffin. You destroy the coffin, that's a big problem, but the coffin's gone already. Meinster's smart cookie. He's taking him out.
And here she comes.
So, over his shoulder, here comes the Baroness Meinster. She's back.
And I was so looking forward to this scene. I was like, oh, those two are going to be in a scene together. They're going to be great. And they are.
She's become a vampire. He took the blood of his own mother, as Van Helsing says. And it was not easy to get these pictures of her with her teeth, because she pulls that scarf up real quick to hide the teeth. But he realizes, what has happened here. And what's funny about this, and you can't see it, unfortunately, because it's too small, but Cushing actually has a little blood on his lip, like he split his lip in this scene. And I think what happened, this is my guess, this is pure conjecture on my part, I think they probably did the fight scene first and then shot this scene. And they tried to cover it up with makeup, but you can see it. If you look at the film, you can see it. He's got a little blood on his lip there. And vampires would be going crazy.
Right. She wouldn't be so polite and hiding her. Right.
And again, I always wonder why she didn't try to bite him. And of course, the son shows up. Mommy, what's happening? Mommy, who did you let in? I like to play him as a spoiled brat.
I don't want to know what it took to get his eyes that red, honestly.
They did it to Christopher Lee, too.
These days, they would have some sort of like contact lenses or something. I don't imagine that existed.
I believe it was done with some special drops, that they had to put in their eyes. Yeah. And according to Christopher Lee, they were not the most comfortable of drops.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So that might have been one of the reasons why David Peel said, I'm not going to act anymore. I'm going to go sell art. So, of course, the cross comes out. The first thing you need to pull up is the crucifix, and he looks like he's throwing a tantrum, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Mommy, he's got a cross, Mommy.
Well, I'm always so impressed when the crosses work, right? You never know when you're seeing one of these training films, whether or not, and that, I can't even remember what movie that was, that when somebody held up that cross and the vampire was like, it means nothing to me, right? Do you remember what it was?
The first one to poke fun at that. Yeah. And again, all the Hammer films, it worked. The cross always worked, and you could do anything. You can cross candlesticks and it works.
Right.
And you'll see how the end of the film here happens. Spoiler alert. And he tosses the cross down to the other end of the table like he's passing a beer over to him. And it's so, yes, it works here. The movie you're talking about is Fright Night. Fright Night, you have to believe in the cross. Or actually, Salem's Lot did it first. You have to have faith. You have to have faith.
Right. You
for
could
it to
have
work.
tongue depressors, but you had to have faith.
Yes, exactly. So he's pretty wily. He gets out of there pretty quick, and you know, Peter Cushing can't catch him. Van Helsing can't catch him. So, oh my God, I'm way behind on my notes here. Luckily, I remembered most of them. So anyway, he goes back to the mother, and he says there is one way out, which makes her happy. She knows what it means. He's basically saying, "Hey, you want me to stake you?" In a nice way.
We just met.
So, not to be deterred, Meinster, again, very smart cookie, goes right to the school, takes the luggage that she left behind.
I thought
at
that
his
was a
house.
nice touch.
Very smart. Again.
I came with your luggage.
Exactly. So she's all
going to be like,
impressed.
"Oh my gosh, you're the best thing ever."
And again, he asked her to marry him right then and there.
Yep. And she just went right. Yep, sure.
And she says, "Oh, I can be a baroness, really?" And goes right for it. So that's what he took. And again, she may have gone along with it because he may have hypnotized her.
Right. We never know quite
That's
what's
possible.
going on with the thrall in this, right?
He's about to bite her when those other two people from the school come in. So anyway, it doesn't happen. He ends up leaving. Later that night, Gina, her roommate, and she are burning toast. Basically. And they're talking about how handsome the Baron is and all that. And then Marianne leaves. And Gina is all alone. And of course, she can't see him in the mirror, but she knows something's there. She turns around, boom. It's the Baron Meinster.
And don't forget, like before Marianne left, Gina said, basically like, "I wish I was you." Right?
Yeah. I wish it had been me. Yeah.
I wish it had been me.
Well, I can make that happen for you, my dear. So, yeah, he's there. And he hypnotizes her right off the bat. I mean, she is really quickly, fast hypnotized. Boom. I mean, it happens in seconds. So, yeah, he puts the bite on her. Second bride.
Right.
Bride number 2.
Right.
Now, I got to say, before we go any further, that these two brides are the most inept vampire brides in the history of vampire films. Because really, they do nothing to help this guy at all. In the last 2 scenes where he's fighting with Van Helsing, they're upstairs watching the whole time, not coming downstairs, not doing anything. So.
Yeah. Well, I think they kind of understand maybe their role here.
So again, and you would think that their bloodlust would make them come after, people wanting to bite them. And yet they usually stay on the sidelines.
Because the mother, right, even after she's turned, she's embarrassed and she's still kind of basically herself, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting, right? So it's not necessarily you become a vampire and you become. I think it's not very consistent in this movie,
right?
Right, and the thrall is not consistent. Like, why isn't Van Helsing ever in thrall? Right.
Again, now I can understand her apprehension. Because the first thing she says is, "Who are you that you're not afraid?" And then she realizes he's a vampire hunter. So I think that's why she keeps her distance when she meets him. The vampire, the Baroness Meinster, she's a smart woman in her own right. I think she realizes he's dangerous. But when he says it in the way that he does, "Oh, there is one way out," then she sees the logic. Oh, I don't want to have to worry about killing people and I won't have to worry about anything again. And okay, yeah, go ahead, stake me. But the two young vampires, the 2 brides, they don't know Van Helsing. They don't know him from Adam. So again, you would think they would just go for his jugular vein, but it doesn't happen. So which is convenient for Van Helsing.
Yeah, I think it's really more just undeveloped writing on the part of Hollywood and female ingenues.
This film,
right?
This film went through several writers and writing sessions.
Right. Yeah, there wasn't a lot for them to do other than
evidently they couldn't get Christopher Lee to come back to do Dracula again.
Right.
I love this time. He came back in a few years.
Okay, I know we're.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I stepped on what you were saying.
No, go ahead. I want to keep going.
Okay, well, and again, Christopher Lee came back later like in the mid 60s to play Dracula many times after that, but they couldn't get him at that time, I'm guessing. So yeah, a story had to be created that had vampires in it, but didn't necessarily have to be Dracula. So
and managed to snag Peter Cushing.
Yes. Well,
who's pretty good
there you
actor,
go.
right?
If you can't get Dracula, you got to get Van Helsing, one or the other.
Exactly.
So Cushing was doing Van Helsing, and he was also doing Frankenstein for their house Hammer films. So in this scene, Miles Malson, another character actor, has been in a lot of the Hammer films. He's a comic relief actor. Plays another doctor who's going to Marianne's school because Gina's dead. And Van Helsing finds out about it and goes, "Oh, can I come with you? I want to." Yeah. So, and if you don't recognize Peter Cushing, by the way, shame on you, because he's Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars, for crying out loud. Much older, mind you, but again, he did a lot of these films.
I think I read that he was born in 1913.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or
20? You're right.
Like,
I think you're right.
Pretty old. Yeah. Yeah. At the time of Star Wars, I mean, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think he was pushing 70 at the time he did Grand Moff Tarkin.
I just want to say how great his performance is. I mean, there's never a moment. He's clearly the best actor by far.
To be honest with you, my favorite
whole thing. My opinion.
My favorite Sherlock Holmes. I agree with you. My favorite Sherlock Holmes is Peter Cushing doing the Hammer version of Hound of the Baskervilles, doing Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. I think he's even better than Benedict Cumberbatch. He's my favorite Holmes. He's a wonderful Holmes. Anyway,
and I'm surprised also too at his like level of sexiness, because I'm kind of used to him from Star Wars when he was a little older, and I never really saw him that way. But here he's just so dashing, right? The little suits.
At the end of the movie, when he saves a Marianne, I'm guessing she married him. Anyway, the way she hugs on to him at the end of the movie. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So this is where he finds out that Marianne has been proposed to by Meinster. And he is not happy, but he can't say really anything because he knows she's in love with him. So, but as fate would have it, he does say, take Gina's coffin out to the stables, put padlocks on it, and watch over it. Okay. But what he doesn't realize is that Marianne gets the night shift. So, and Hans leaves. She's there by herself. The locks start falling off the coffin, which is a nice creepy thing. And then here's Gina. And again, look at her. She is perfect for the vampire.
Yeah, she's great.
For a vampire.
Those eyebrows, those perfect eyebrows.
Kiss me, my darling Marianne. We can enjoy him together.
Oh, man. This girl was made to be a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, Van Helsing shows up. And Marianne still hasn't been bitten yet. This is the luckiest girl in the world. She still hasn't been bitten. So Gina is scared. Though she doesn't know Van Helsing from Adam, she runs. She gets the hell out of there. Marianne tells Van Helsing that Meinster is in the old windmill just outside of town. Actually, Gina spilled those beans.
Come with me to the windmill.
And there it is, creepy old windmill. It looks rather rustic. So he goes out there by himself.
Yeah.
knowing that there's going to be several vampires probably out there.
I know. And overcoat completely buttoned, no weapons in sight.
He's got his bag with him.
Oh, I know.
He's got his bag with him.
But, like if it was a movie today, they'd have some sort of like, bows and rifles and pistols, and they'd be going like this. And this guy's just waltzing in with his bag, his little doctor's bag.
Wow. And the next move is the one that really has me scratching my head. It's the middle of the night. You saw the moon up above the windmill, the full moon up above the windmill. You saw it. And he goes to the coffin and checks the coffin. Like, oh, maybe magically he'll be here. It's like, why did you do that?
Wait, how did the coffin get there? Okay, never mind. Okay.
Yeah, he moved it.
He did. Okay.
Yeah. What's weird is there are no other coffins for the other girls.
short marriages.
Of course, Greta doesn't need one. she's a human that's protecting vampires. Batshit crazy. So he pulls up his trusty cross, his crucifix, and Greta grabs it from him, and in doing so, she falls and takes a dive to the first floor, and she's out, probably dead. And he goes back down to try to see if he can get his hand on the cross because, hey, he's got 2 vampire girls to deal with, and Baron Meinster shows up.
Right.
Charles is here. So, and he brought chains.
Oh, I know. I was like, he's not just going to attack him? Oh, okay. We're going to get like a real fight scene here. Okay.
Are you ready to rumble?
Right. Peter Cushing, of course, never like breaks his stride.
and the girls are excited. You can tell, But again, they stay right there. They never move. They're like vampire cheerleaders. They never move from that spot until the fire happens. And the fire happens, and then they disappear. So Van Helsing gets strangled. He gets strangled exactly the same way he does in Horror of Dracula. At the end of the movie, he lets the vampire strangle him, and then at the end of Horror of Dracula, he's faking it. And he kicks the vampire off him. But in this one, they actually strangles him into unconsciousness. And then the vampire puts his cape around him when he's biting him. Why do vampires do that? Okay, come on, you're a vampire. You don't have to be homophobic. Okay, you're biting another guy. It's okay. You're a vampire.
Not in 1960 Hollywood.
But I guess in 1960, they had to cover all that up. Yeah.
Right.
Now, and again, Hammer films were rated X because of the violence and the blood in them. So you would think that, a guy biting another guy's throat. Yeah. Anyway, why do vampires do that?
Well, there's a lot of sexual innuendo. There's a lot of stuff going on in this movie underneath the surface, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, you got to wonder how Meinster himself became a vampire. Got to go to those wild parties like Gary did. And you never know. So you see, he looks happy about the bite. And Van Helsing realizes he's been bitten. He wakes up just after Baron Meinster leaves. He bites him and then leaves. He's going to see Mary Ann. He's like, you know what? That one I didn't bite before. I gotta go. I gotta go find her.
So he thinks Van Helsing's dead. He kills him with the strangulation.
No. He thinks Van Helsing has become a vampire.
No, but he kills him with the strangulation, and then he bites him, thinking that he'll become a vampire. But how can he can't tell that he's not dead?
Just the bite.
Sloppy work there. Sloppy.
Agreed. Why leave right after? Wipe your mouth and go see the girl. So yeah, he thinks that they say somewhere in this movie that the kiss of the vampire makes you become a vampire. Basically, if you're bitten by a vampire, you're going to become a vampire. You're going to get the vampire sickness. So again, this whole time he's down there and he stands up, like you said. The 2 girls are still there. And they could drain him. He's still got blood in him. Look, he's moving. But they stay upstairs. They don't come downstairs at all. He is stoking the fire with a branding iron. Nothing. They do nothing.
Honestly, I think there's an opportunity for some fan fiction in there, but go on.
So again, maybe when they saw him with the hot pokers, they were like, okay, that's a little too kinky for me, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay at my distance until the master comes back, until our hubby Charles comes back. So Marianne takes her crucifix off. And the minute she lays it on the mirror there, he's there. And look at him with his foot up on the windowsill. Oh, man, that guy's got some swag.
Yeah.
I'm here. So, and again, they both look at the crucifix. And there's another thing. Before, when he looked at a crucifix, he was throwing the tantrum, right? He was But here,
he's like, nah.
Doesn't even affect him. He sees it. He chases towards it to get it away, to make sure she doesn't grab it. And he should be like, but he doesn't do it. That was weird. See? She's trying to put it behind her back. He's like, yeah. Give me that. And
this had kind of a juvenile like fight, like a sibling fight quality to this embrace.
And right here is where she should have been bitten. Right here. If nowhere else, nobody's going to come walking in the door. He could have bitten her right here.
But her naivete saves the day.
But he's like,
no,
I want Van Helsing to see her initiation. Oh my God, this is the luckiest girl in the world.
Right. He doesn't just like, bang, 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 boom. I've got another bride. Let's move on. No, he's got to mess with Van Helsing.
Yeah, Van Helsing has been a pain in his neck, literally. And speaking of which, owie.
Oh yeah, this is a tough
He brands his own neck and then sprinkles holy water on it.
Yeah.
And we are reminded that the girls are still watching upstairs.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody do this in a vampire movie before, in a vampire film.
Oh, hell.
Basically cauterize the wound, right?
Yeah. Well, and again, look at what happens next. Forget.
Uh-oh, we lost you. Oh. Well, we'll just sit here and we'll just look at Peter Cushing's neck for a few minutes. Oh my God, I'm really going to appreciate this for just a second. Okay, we'll forget about the... Oh boy. It's the Hound of the Baskervilles. He has like just he's so he's just beautiful. I don't know what to say. I would really like to just maybe focus on Peter Cushing films for a while. I'm thinking maybe maybe I could start even like a whole show on Peter Cushing movies where he's very hot. Oh, okay. Look, we're moving forward in time. All right. This is the happy couple, right? They are, I wonder what happened to General Howitzer. He's just long gone. Maybe he'll come back in a few minutes. Okay. So I'm trying to remember exactly what happens in this scene. It's nice when General Howitzer is here because he has a beautiful, he's back. Okay.
Yeah, these scam artists always call me right at my showtime. I got to start going on my computer, I guess. So anyway.
We had a little Peter Cushing appreciation moment.
And what I was going to say is forget Bactine. Forget Bactine, forget, bacitracin. This is the miracle cure right here. A little holy water on that scalded neck. And evidently this cures the sickness. This cures the bite of the vampire.
Well, when you don't manage to actually kill the person to turn them into a vampire, I'm telling you, it was an oversight. Yeah.
Agreed. Yes. So he brings Marianne and he's like, I want you to watch her initiation, And he says, don't look at him. Don't look at him. And she looks right at him. That's always good. And again, we see the holy water and the vampire. Look at the vampire chicks. They're like, they're hissing. They're like, why don't you just say, he's got holy water? But they don't do it. So, yep, one up and down, one over to the side. Boom. Holy water in the face. Yeah.
This is really good makeup here. I like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Roy Ashton did most of the Hammer films. A face that only a mother. Well, never mind. Because his mother, he turned her into a vampire. Anyway, so he's a bad sport. Look at him. I'm going to set the whole windmill on fire. So
which I was thinking at the time, I was like, "Ooh, vampires fire, not good."
Yeah, and he realizes that here right now.
That, just throwing that fire.
A little backdraft, not a good idea.
Yeah.
So they go upstairs. They go upstairs to where the female vampires are, and they're gone. They're nowhere to be seen for the rest of the film. So did they get away?
Right. And they turned out to be smarter than anyone else in this film. They took their immortality and hit the road.
Are we to assume that they burned up? Anyway, so he goes outside with Marianne, takes her down to a lower level. Then he goes back up to the upper level, jumps on one of those little windmill thingy, whatever they call them, and rides it down. Do you see where we're going with this, folks? The moonlight is very bright out. Windmill, shape of a cross. So, and Baron Meinster is right out there exactly where he needs to be for this cross to hit him. And it stops him dead in his tracks.
Yeah.
And that's not the weirdest part. So, yeah, there he is. So, yeah, he's down. And here's the weirdest part. Peter Cushing is right there next to him a second later. How did he get out of the second story of the burning windmill? And then she shows up a second later. How did she get out of the second story of the burning windmill? We never see it. And there it is. It's a very burning windmill. So there's a couple of things that we have to just kind of, suspend our belief, I guess. Well, I mean, not as bad as an Ed Wood film.
This was early on, right? So we were learning more things about the. This wouldn't be a multiverse. This would just be right. This is This is the Dracula universe, right? Mm-hmm. This is basically fan.
The Hammerverse.
This is fan fiction right here. This movie is fan fiction.
Again, the crosses.
Somebody was like,
water.
"You know what would be really cool? What if Dracula had a bride?" And then somebody else in the meeting was like, "Oh, brides! Yes, they're polygamists because they're evil."
3 of them. They're bigamists. They're bigamists.
Bigamists, right? Not yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, vampires are into bigamy. They are. They need a coven.
They need a coven. Yes.
All right.
Before, with Gary was able to tell us, was actually able to give us some information that we had not had before about these parties where they just turn regular people. But the fact that they're causing,
party and who knows what the hell will happen.
They're causing breakups in relationships. That is the thing that is really inexcusable.
Well, again, some people probably embrace the vampire lifestyle once they realize what's happened to them, and some people just are like, "Hey, I'll just be normal. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I can just do it forever now." He probably watches Netflix, Anyway, thank you so much for coming on again.
Well, I just wanted to say, I am watching you, vampires. I am finding you all. And I'm going to kill you all, including you, Gary Bland, including you.
You see now that was a mistake to let him go. He might go vicious. you never know. Maybe.
But it was a pleasure. Hazzard. It was a pleasure being here. Lovely seeing you again.
Thank you so much, Major Hazzard. I hope you're still there.
Yes, I'm still here, and we have
scam called it and pull you out of the show.
No, that's okay. But we want to tell everyone that No Icing with Rita is going live right now. So everybody stick around, and thank you, Madame Barbie, for being here. Thank you. Peace, love, happiness. Good night, everybody.
Keep an eye out for those vampires.
We are the last defense. The last defense.